The house I'm working on had a pretty substantial crack in their knockdown ceiling from settling, which is not that abnormal. What I'm doing here is taking the paper tape out. You don't have to do this. It's a better way to do it, but you don't have to do this. You could put the mesh tape right over the crack. The problem being when you do that, you will have a little bit of a hump because you have to build the mud down just a little bit further than the ceiling, and this is a better way to hide it. Here I'm putting some screws in the ceiling just to make sure it doesn't crack again. This is always a good idea to do. This is the fiberglass mesh tape. It is self-adhesive, so it'll stick right to the ceiling. You can see I got both sides of the crack. I took the tape off of both sides. So you want to pretty much be in the middle. You want the crack to be in the middle. And then you put the mud on. And the way I do this, you pull it from the sides. That way you make sure you get it filled in the joint and you don't have any air voids in there. If you just do it along the joint, sometimes you'll get air pockets in there. This is the second coat. This is the same batch of mud. I'm using 20-minute quick set here. And it's the same batch. I've let it sit for about 10 minutes so it's firm, but it's not hard yet. I'm still able to work with it. If you don't want to use a 20-minute, they make other batches. They make a 45 and a 90-minute that goes along with it. This is one of the main aspects of doing good patches, is floating out the edges. You want the edges to blend as much as possible with what's there. You don't want a ridge along your edge, or you'll see it when you do your finished product. So you need to be very particular doing that. This is the second coat. The first coat is sat for about a half hour, so it's good and hard. So I put the second, or actually it would be the third coat. And now with that same batch of mud, the second batch of mud, I'm putting another coat. So actually I've put 4 coats of mud on this. The mud will shrink occasionally. That's why you have to do it in more than one coat. That's why you put your first coat on and you let it get all the way hard, and then you put another coat on. And now for the finished coat, I'm also doing the same thing, blending the edges in. That's very important when you're patching. You want to make sure you blend the edges in real good where you don't have any ridges along the edge. Now this is laying it down a little bit. This takes all the voids and scratches and anything that's in there. You want it to be as flat as possible when you do this. If it gets too hard, you can dampen it with your sponge, and that'll make your putty knife slide a lot easier on it, and it won't drag it off. Now this is the actual knockdown process. The mud I'm using is just regular joint compound that you buy in a 5-gallon bucket, or you can buy it in the little patching buckets too that are probably 2-gallon buckets. I'm using a very coarse sponge, and you can see I'm dabbing it on pretty heavy. That's due to the fact that the ceiling that is there is a heavy knockdown, so you can adjust the size of your knockdown by the size of the globs that you put up there. It doesn't look good right now, but it will in just a minute. This is an actual knockdown knife. We use it for when we do knockdown. You can use a putty knife if you want to, but you just have to barely touch it. You don't want to push it real hard. This is probably sat for 10 or 15 minutes just to give it a little bit of body to it. And once again, I'm going along and I'm blending the edges in. This is very important. You don't want any ridges on your knockdown or any other patches that you do. And this is the finished product. Once it's painted, you won't even hardly know it's there.